Have you ever had a conversation with someone that makes you question reality? And I'm not talking about an existential or philosophy question. What I'm talking about is gaslighting. In today's video, we're going to break down what gaslighting is, who uses it, what the 4 hallmark behaviors are, and how to overcome it. Hey everyone, for those of you who are new here, welcome. My name is Kayla and I make videos about all things BPD. I release new videos every Monday, so make sure that you're subscribed and that you have your notifications turned on so that you're not missing out. Not too long ago, I released a video talking about the BPD narcissist couple, and gaslighting is a common tactic used by narcissists, so I thought that today we could spend some more time unpacking that. Now, you may have heard the term before, and you might even have some general idea about what gaslighting actually is. But let me tell you that there's actually a lot of misunderstanding out there that exists about the different components that are involved within gaslighting and what it actually looks like. And honestly, it's no wonder, because honestly, gaslighting can sometimes be used as a general umbrella term, and it can feel almost as the shapeshifter of emotional abuse terminology because it can come in so many different forms. The term gaslighting actually comes from a 1938 play called Gaslighting. Now, within this play, it depicted the lives of a husband and a wife, and the husband was emotionally manipulative and set out to make the wife feel as though she was crazy. And how he did this is that he would dim the gas lights in the house, and the wife would look at these gas lights and see that they were changing. And when she confronted her husband about these things, he made her feel as though she was hallucinating, as though she was crazy, as though nothing was happening. So within the context of the play, gaslighting became this kind of emotional and manipulative technique to make his wife question her own perception of reality. And essentially, that's what it is. Gaslighting is a manipulation technique used to make you question your own sense of reality, your own sanity, your own identity, who you are as a person. It could be very subtle, very overt and in your face, and when done in extreme or over long periods of time, this can make you stay under the control of the person using this on you. So who uses gaslighting? Now, typically we see this tactic used by individuals who have narcissist personality disorders, who are sociopaths, psychopaths, essentially personality disorders found within the cluster B of the DSM. Now, I want to clarify though that just because someone is using gaslighting on you, it does not mean that they have a personality disorder. Typically, people who use gaslighting are trying to hide reality from you, and this goes deep. And what I mean by this is that they're not just trying to hide a lie from you, they're trying to hide reality itself so that they can keep you under control. So let's take, for example, in the case of a narcissist, if you're their main source of supply, the main person who provides them with all this validation and love, they're going to use gaslighting so that they can keep you on the hook, they can keep you under control, so that they can continue having this abundant source of validation that they need. So if they're lying to you about something and you catch them in a lie and you confront them, they're going to most likely use gaslighting tactics to make you feel as though your perception was wrong. And you might go into the conversation knowing almost with 99% confidence that they were lying, and coming out of that conversation thinking, oh, well, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe I read too much into things and I guess it's my fault and I guess I'm the one who's wrong. So how exactly do we identify gaslighting? Well, there exist 4 hallmark behaviors that are present when someone is gaslighting you. And the first being is repeated lying. So you catch someone in a lie, and what do? They cover up with more lies. So as I mentioned before, you could catch your partner in a lie, confront them, they're going to lie more to you about the lie to make you question reality, to make you question the conversation, and to make you question whether or not they were actually lying in the first place, or maybe it's just you that's crazy. The second behavior, which goes hand in hand with the first one, is denial of evidence. So you might say, oh, I was out for a walk and I saw you at a coffee shop with someone else, and the person might answer to you, well, no, you didn't, that wasn't me. And once again, you could say, well, yeah, I'm pretty sure that was you. I mean, you were wearing the same thing and I got a pretty good look. And the person might say, nope, that was me. I can confirm to you. And not only will they deny the evidence, but they will use evidence to back up what they're saying. So they might bring up other times where you thought that you saw something that wasn't true, and that they're gonna bring up like red receipts about where they were at that specific time that maybe they took the time to go and create these fake things. So by bringing up other instances where you thought that something happened when it didn't, and if they're pressuring you with all of these facts and evidence, it can make you feel very overwhelmed in the moment and then just be like, okay, well, sorry, I guess it's me and it's my bad and it wasn't you. The third behavior is misdirection. So imagine that you're having a conversation or an argument with the emotionally abusive person, and then suddenly they're going to shift the conversation to something else to draw your attention elsewhere. And oftentimes they can direct the conversation to something else that is super triggering to you. So if you're trying to talk about one thing and then they bring up something else that triggers you, you're obviously going to forget this other thing, move on to this next thing, and they could constantly change the direction of the conversation until you get to a point that you're so flustered, you're so overwhelmed and triggered that you're not able to have a conversation. And this is where they kind of take the upper hand and say, well, sorry, we can't have this conversation right now. Finally, the fourth behavior is contradiction. So within the conversation, they will often contradict themselves many times and make you believe simultaneously that they're not when you call them out. And when you call them out and then they rebuttal with the fact that they're not and contradict themselves again, you're going to get defensive. And the more that they can get you to be defensive, the more that you're going to feel as though you need to defend yourself for some reason, even though they're the ones who did something wrong. The conversation ends up falling on you and you're defending yourself. They will also eventually lead you to a point of conversational confusion, meaning that the emotional abusive person will use different tactics, so misdirection, denial, contradictions, word salads, to get you to doubt yourself within the conversation. And then eventually, if you doubt yourself within the conversation, you start doubting yourself as a person. And then what ends up happening is that you doubt your ability to even follow the conversation or to know what you're talking about. So if you can't follow the conversation, if you don't know what you're talking about, how are you supposed to make valid arguments that are supposed to stand in the conversation that you're having? How are you even supposed to understand what this other person is communicating to you? And how, in any way, shape, or form, are you going to make sense? Are you going to come out of this conversation as the one who is quote unquote right, when you're not able to follow along anything? And this can really eat away at you over time if this is a repeated pattern in arguments that you have with someone who is emotionally abusive, because every conversation that you go into, they're going to use tactics saying like, well, remember all these other arguments that we had and the same thing always happens and you always get confused and you don't know what you're talking about, so you don't know what you're talking about now. And so whatever issue that you're trying to bring up to me is not valid. This is just things going on in your own mind. Eventually with time, if you're constantly being gaslighted, you're going to doubt yourself. You're going to find yourself overly apologizing for everything, feeling very alone, feeling vulnerable and powerless. It's a really, really bad place and a scary place to be in. When you feel like you can't talk about things with others and you end up hiding facts or changing reality, this might be a good indication that you are in an emotionally abusive relationship. So what can we do about this? First and foremost, it's really important to distance yourself. And what I mean by this is going no contact with them. Now, as I previously mentioned, it's not everyone who uses gaslighting that is a narcissist or a sociopath, but if you notice consistent patterns within your relationship that are not improving and might even be getting worse, it's time to distance yourself from this individual. Now, the second important thing to do would be to start talking about it. If you're not ready to talk about it with friends or family, that's okay, but it might be worth considering seeing a professional who's unbiased and can help you tease out these different patterns in your relationship. Another thing that you can do to start overcoming gaslighting is to become aware of your internal self-talk. So how do you talk about yourself to others? How do you talk about yourself in your head? So if you're constantly thinking things like, I'm so stupid, everything is my fault, I can't do anything right, you might be a victim of gaslighting and it might be time to really take distance, go talk to someone. Lastly, when you do realize that you are being gaslit by someone, it's really important to set boundaries, and whatever that looks like. If boundaries mean cutting off all contacts, ending the relationship, or setting boundaries in the sense that when arguments start to happen, You say, I'm going to step out and we're going to re-engage when both of us are not as emotionally activated. Just remember that you are not to blame for what you are experiencing. The person gaslighting you is making choices to behave this way, and they are responsible for their actions, not you. As always, I'm curious to hear from you in the comments down below. Let me know if you'd like to see more videos like this one, more videos that talk about the different tactics used by narcissists or by other personality disorders that we see out there. And as always, if you found this video useful, be sure to give it a like. It is great for the YouTube algorithm, meaning that the more people like this, the more that my video gets shared and the more that we help to break down the stigma surrounding BPD. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be here with me, and I wish you all the best week. See you next time for another episode of On the Line.